Hello, thanks a lot for joining us again. So, in this part, what we're going to be talking about is the targets that we've set on the super rares that we've acquired, the kind of forward thinking that goes into it, not only just with the budget that we've got available to us, but the SO5 side of things in terms of what leagues we're hopefully going to try and get into and pull some prizes from, as well as how the market might develop over the coming weeks and months and years. Like, subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. I hope you have a good one, and yeah, see you in the next one. Now, I know myself from doing purchases on SoRare and other things, sometimes or quite a lot of the time, when you buy things and you haven't got a set, like a remit or, any sort of target around what this transaction is going to actually achieve for you in any time scale that you care to think about, those are the transactions that more often than not you do end up regretting in some fashion because you think, oh, short term I could have used that money better, and long term I could have used it better, whatever. When you guys have been going out and buying your super rares, what kind of targets are you setting on that transaction, on your gallery, on yourself, as a result of picking the super rares up that you've got?
I definitely, just to answer your question there, Quinn, I definitely think that you can see a pattern in the way that I've started to buy mine. So I think the first two you look at are just sort of cheap Asia defenders, and I've just thought, right, well, I just need a leg up at some point, and it worked out really well because they had great scores in the D3 Asia that I won the last game week. So that was more lucky than I think strategized. And then I think as you go on, apart from the one that I won, I've started to look at, right, how can this guy start to add to my team? So where's the deficiencies that I've currently got? Can they cover multiple divisions? So someone like Johnny Russell is going to be a really good candidate for the Champion America because it's not particularly strong in attackers. So that's why I kind of picked him up as a forward. Whereas someone like Kenton Nishizawa, who they say he's under 23, but he won't be for next season. But he's got maybe more coverage in a global. I was firstly thinking he's gonna be a global D3 because I've got loads of solid rare mids, but he's someone that I already had as a rare. He's one of these guys I want to upgrade to a super rare. So he was the one that was thinking, right, he's going in a global because he upgrades what I've already got or what I've got already. And then finishing off someone like Stengs, he was just like essentially what you would call a bite the bullet buy. He's someone that he covers multiple different divisions. He's got a lot of utility. He's someone who I wanted elsewhere, wasn't able to get. So he's just someone that I said, I really want him. I need to get him. He's an early issue, so I'm just going to pay the money. And now you look at him and you think, right, he's a forward, which are, for some reason, they're more coveted than others. I think that's the same in all of football. People like forwards more.
Big score potential, isn't it?
Exactly. I don't have any good really challenger or champion forwards, so it covers both of those when you're going into a global. Obviously, it is a challenger card, so if I do put together any sort of challenger team in the future, he's going to be the linchpin of that potentially, especially when he moves out of under 23. He's also got a transfer built in potentially to a champion league, so then he would become essentially more valuable because he can compete for what are essentially better prizes, even though the challenger's pretty tasty in it. But he covers all those bases, and in the short term, I mean, he's playing every game for his club. He's 21. He's got a good baseline. He's got good scores. So he's the kind of guy. He ticks a lot of boxes. And these are the guys that obviously cost more money, as you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can get on board with a lot of that. Marky boy, what about yourself? What was your kind of your targets, your kind of thought process between these guys as you were buying them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of thinking, like, at some point, obviously, I want to be up near Division 2, so I was kind of looking at, like, guys buying uniques or winning uniques and thinking, like, I don't see myself spending that money on them, so how do I work my way up through the game? So, like, I was trying to sort of add guys in different divisions so that when everybody's playing, I might have the option of saying, right, I can go into a D2 or whatever. I know you said earlier you might want to go in and you might have, like, one rare or whatever, but I always feel like if you're getting into a division, you don't really want to give yourself a handicap if you're going to be competitive. So I was just thinking about filling different positions, getting guys who are good scorers, or getting guys who are young that I feel as if will be good value or get good use out of, and guys like Dodo, Marcus, Antonio are just players I like. So it's kind of an element, obviously, of like if I like those guys, then there should be some demand for them, and obviously I know they are good players as well, and I think they're really undervalued based on what you can use them for in terms of their career. But the main objective was, like, at some point I think, like, right, when MLS comes back in April, will I be able to put a team into Division 2? And once I've got somebody in all the positions and they're all going to be playing, that's going to be a realistic prospect, and it just gives me a chance to get get a chance at those bigger prizes. And also the Division 4, obviously, we have a lot of people joining, and there's more and more and more people coming in, but there's only so many super rares obviously issued. So if another 4,000 people come and they all say, I want to enter super rare teams, they might not be able to buy those teams, but they can buy teams to enter Division 4.
Yeah.
So I was kind of trying to work my way up so that kind of get away from the divisions that are becoming really, really, really competitive. And I know the top divisions will be competitive with good cards, but just feel as if you might still have a better chance of winning something in those divisions, because obviously even if people really want them, they can't sort of access the cards that are needed for them. So those were the main aims, just to kind of fill the different positions, buy guys I thought were good value, and just give myself a kind of a route to go up through the divisions towards the top, really.
Magic. Well, Mark, you're quite a notorious trader, let's say.
Flipper, flippity flip.
Flippity flip. But when you're buying these guys, you get 20 super rares, right? How many of them, when you bought them, did you think, I will sell you for profit? That's the main thing. Or are they all utility based, or is there a combination in there?
I think the good thing is when you think they're good value, if they do rise in price, it gives you a nice avenue of maybe turning it over and getting into somebody else you really want to buy. Sometimes I think say obviously you bought Darwin Núñez, right? And at that point, I probably wouldn't spend that on him. But if I bought two guys as super rares and I get two really good offers for him, and I built that balance, then I would spend it on him.
Yeah.
So that's just my own concept in terms of what I'm doing. So if I've made a big profit on somebody, then maybe I'll work my way up. So it just kind of gives me a way of getting up the ladder, if that makes sense. I didn't really look at a lot of these guys and think, I'm going to flip you on for a good profit straight away. But when I bought Jensen, I thought, if somebody, say, offers me 600-700 quid or something for him, then I'd be quite tempted to take it. The way goalkeeper scorer, would be quite tempted just to turn that over. If I could see somebody else super rare wise I could buy, or somebody else that I really wanted to buy, or maybe at that point I feel as if I'm ready to retire and take my profit out, but I doubt it. It's just getting started. But yeah, it's kind of good to have it. And then guys like Jucklerod, I didn't really have any intention of buying him, but somebody told me he'd signed for Genk, and
Nice.
the price it was listed on the market, the price it was on the market for a while, and I just decided I was just going to get him. He'll probably not play much for Antwerp for the rest of the season, but I think you look at guys like Munoz and how well they're scoring for Genk and how well Genk are doing.
Yeah.
I thought, well, if he gets in that team and he's playing well, he could be really valuable, like a lot of the other cards are in Belgium. So sometimes you kind of go down that avenue, but it feels as if I've got a good mix between there. I've not bought 20 forwards, I've not bought 20 goalkeepers or whatever. I've bought a mix so that I can actually get myself a taste in those divisions, and then if some of them go up in value and I feel as if I've not got the right thing, then I'll maybe turn some over and buy other guys, but I will give me a chance to enter those divisions. So
Out of your 20 super rares, Mark, 7 of them are challengers. Is that deliberate?
yeah, I don't think it was specifically deliberate. Let me see who I've got.
So I've got Barros, Hubert, Jucklerod, Aziz, Odrago, if I say it, Lemos, and Petrov.
I mean, a couple of them, Odrago and Lemos, were more guys who I think that they'll get back in the team. I mean, obviously Odrago is only 21 as well, so he's not been playing. He was injured, so he was a bit more of a kind of injury type play as well. I think he will get back in the team in future. Weigand, who I bought recently, or Weigand, he plays for Gymnasia, but he's on loan from Boca, and he's been doing quite well.
Nice.
And I've got another guy in his team as well, Meluso, who's been doing really well. Picked him up really cheap and then he started to play well. So actually, the reason I bought him was felt as if he could kind of go in with Meluso in an under 23 Division 3. So you that thing sometimes. What I quite like is say you've got one or two defenders, or you've got a goalkeeper and a defender. If you think that this guy's who can easily pull a clean sheet, if you put 2 or 3 of those guys in the same team, they score quite well and they get a clean sheet, it's an extra 30 points. So some people might look at that as all the eggs in the one basket type thing, but the end of the day, if a team has a good game and they hit big, then you want to be right up there. So it kind of, I like that strategy as well, where you've got a couple of guys in the same team and you fire them in, and then if they do well, you're getting yourself right up there. So the other alternative is you put guys in different teams, and you've not got all your eggs in the one basket. But when you're putting in 4 sort of Division 4s and 4 Division 3s, sometimes I think you can gamble on that a wee bit more if you feel as if somebody's in a good team or get good fixtures or whatever. So
yeah, big time. I think when you get, I think you guys will probably agree, or I hope you will agree anyway, right? As soon as you get to the kind of point where you are shopping for super rares, you're probably budget wise, you're able to buy within reason any rare you could possibly set your artist desire on within reason. You're probably not going to just wake up one morning and buy Mbappe and Ronaldo and Neymar, but within reason, if you wanted to go and get I don't know, a Vlasic or a Dorsch, you probably could, right? When you're getting to the level of shop for super rares. So for me, when in terms of targets and whatever, again, I think we've spoken about this a little bit earlier on, but when I was buying some of these guys, very similar to both of you, I was thinking about making sure they could enable me when I found good players. Like, when I started the platform, I was buying a lot of people with my football index hat still on a little bit, where I was like, okay, I'll buy Ferran Torres at Valencia because I know he'll do well later on in his career. He may not do much to now, especially with the transfer that kicked in. I had that kind of mentality, so I thought, right, well, when all these things do ripen, let's say in 18 months from now, I'm going to need some super rares that will allow me to compete at this next level. And I've managed to, do quite well with a few of those little trades so far. But one thing I would say is, like, I think we agreed in an earlier part anyway, that defenders are probably the easiest way to get in with super rares in terms of maybe your first one or two. And midfielders, Mark, you've got a fair amount of midfielders. I think, Ross, you're similar. One thing I've noticed is, obviously my last little bunch I've bought in forwards, right? And part of my thinking for that is, when it comes to rares, I've got far more midfielders than anything. And I think, if I was to go and buy, as you guys will know, right, I was hunting down a super rare Goretzka for a while, and it just was out without my reach every time. It was just a wee bit too expensive. Those top end midfielders, getting them as a super rare is like a different strategy of budget. If you're going to go and buy like a Cruz super rare, or other guys that are in that kind of level of the game, they're seriously expensive. But you can probably get their rare quite well. And like we were chatting about before, having a really powerful rare in a situation around D3s can be better for you actually than a mediocre or less than average super rare. Just having these powerful rares to go alongside it. So when the penny kind of dropped for me on that, I thought, right, well, I can go and get a Goretzka rare for 0.4, 0.3, whatever it was, and then the extra money I've saved from that, I can maybe go and get a striker that's a super rare that I might be taking a gamble on because of their stage in their career or whatever, or their off season, if I'm thinking about like a Barco or something. And what they can then do is help me with these rares that I'm cultivating, that I'm using in D4s every week, because that can be part of it as well. When you buy your first couple of super rares, you might not really actually be able to use them without actually harming your output. Because if you've got a really strong D4 lineup, and let's say the super rare I've got, a Zowie, let's say you bought a Zowie and any other random super rare you can't imagine, you might look at them and go, well, if I put a Zowie in, then I need to take Immobile out the squad to fit him in. And who's going to score better, Immobile or a Zowie super rare? Well, probably going to be the Immobile. So you're then ended up with a super rare and you're thinking, okay, what's the point of fucking having this? So it's kind of thinking that little step ahead in terms of, right, well, when I get to the top end cards that I want to buy in terms of real world football, Immobile, Ronaldo, top end players, how am I going to do that with super rares? And as soon as you kind of realise, yes you are, or yes you aren't, and I think that can help you in terms of the target you set upon the super rares you do acquire, in terms of what they're going to allow you to achieve.
Totally agree. When you look at buying any player, I guess it should be in general, but especially with super rare, and you've got to look at how they harmonise with what you've already got. How do they enhance you? What do they offer that your current players in that position don't have? Or it might just be something as simple as like picking up a super rare Zellarian because you've got the rare, he's been great, you wanted the super rare the whole time, but he would maybe be, it might have been 2 other super rares plus his rare in your team, and you think, well, if I pick up a super rare, first of all, you can maybe offset some of the cost of the rare, and I haven't personally, but someone might choose to do that, i.e. see it as a complete upgrade. Or it might just be something that you go, do you know what, the rare's actually good enough for me. I'm going to then go out and buy a defender because it complements this team better. So I think that goes a little bit more deeper into general strategy, which I guess this video isn't about. But when you look at
it, anything you want it to be about, Ross.
I just think on the whole, whenever you're buying a player, I feel like they should harmonise what you've already got. And the exact same reason as selling a player, it shouldn't be because the player scored really well or because you're sentimentally attached to the player. Someone like I had Ruben Dias and swapped him for Zelryan because he was a rare and he couldn't fit into any of the lineups that I wanted him to be at. Because to me, with his performances recently for Man City, he's a D3 level player, and I don't have any D3 eligible squads to put him in for the foreseeable future. Whereas bringing in someone like Zelryan, he can fit into multiple D3 squads that I'm going to be eligible in from April when the MLS is back. So it wasn't getting too attached to the player that I already had. It was how can I elevate the current collection that I've got. And I think moving to the next level, that's something that a lot of people could sort of look at and go, well, I could spread myself over 150 players if I want, but they're only really going to be eligible at D4 level and they can only win you a certain amount and the competition's higher. I think this is why I think SoRare from the mission statement onwards they kind of say the whole point is progression. You should be trying to progress at the levels. And I think when you've got the chance, sometimes you've just got to bite the bullet and say this is actually better for the collection that I've currently got, and just make the trades if and when you need to. So that was a pretty tough one, and I did lose out on some money coming enough. But I think in the long run that's better for my collection than holding on to the Ruben Dias. So that's just a sort of highlight of what I've sort of been thinking about as I've been doing my trade.
Well, that rings right true in with what I'm saying, because if you think about Zelryan in season, if we fast forward to, let's say it's May right now, the price of a Zelryan super rare and the price of a Ruben Dias rare is probably going to be, the pendulum's going to swing the other way on where it is at the moment. So you've basically, you've maybe taken a short-term little hit, not having a top defender for the next few weeks, but throughout spring and the summer and all the way through to the autumn, you've got a top end. It was the best new signing of the year last year. Won MLS Cup, the star of the team.
Went absolutely crazy in the playoffs. He really showed what kind of player he can be when he has a full run of form, because obviously he missed a few. I don't know if it was with COVID or if it was something self-isolate, or he had a bit of an injury mid-season as well. So his prices were still high enough that people knew what he was capable of. And when I seen him at the same price as a rare, he won't be under 23 for next season, so you're only going to be able to put him in a champion D3 or a All-Star D3. That's where I see him at. And I simply don't have a champion D3 eligible team, and I probably won't buy next year. So that's me being realistic. All he could go into is global All-Star D3. So I've tried to think, right, I can broaden my horizons a little bit, give myself that division plus give myself the Americas division as well. Some of these quiet weeks, and you can look at the top Americas prize, the ETH and stuff like that, and you go, I could really gun for that if I've got the eligible cards. And then, like you say, in the off season, if it comes back and I've churned out rewards and I've got that cash balance sitting there, and let's just say Man City come on the platform, so there's more Ruben Dias's than there is now, because that might happen. It might not, but it might happen. It might be that out of season people are saying, well, I now want the players that are in season, so you can then go and pick them back up for what you sold them for, or maybe less, or maybe more. But that all then becomes how do you fit back into the jigsaw game. I think it doesn't work specifically. You've got to think about every player that you buy, how do they fit into the jigsaw that I've currently got. Our collections are maybe the same in some places, but not in others. So your buys might not make sense to me, and mine might not make sense to you, but that's the whole part of playing the game. That's what makes it so great.
Yeah. Well, one thing you kind of said earlier on, I don't know if you've done this, Mark, I suspect you probably have, but when I missed out on the Hakimi Super Rare the first time, kind of similar to the Gretzky square, I just told you I went and bought a rare, and then got my second bite of the cherry, I got the Super Rare, and then I just offset. I was like, brilliant, well, I can actually sell this rare for half the price that I bought the Super Rare for. So it made great economic sense. Having two Hakimis right now would probably be quite nice. Mark, have you managed to pull any trades like that off, or any situations like that where you went from rare to Super Rare and then maybe levied off the cost of the rare, or sold the rare off to pay a wee bit towards the Super Rare, something like that?
Yeah, I think Kazashvili will be the main one from that point of view. I mean, obviously, I think that he's not a massively top level standard, so I'm hoping firstly that's confirmed soon, because I think it's pretty close. I think that he may well not play early on in the season because a lot of quarantine and stuff and going through all the different things to get, and then obviously he's got to get fit. But like he's the type of guy who could go there and smash it. So like luckily I've picked up lots of the rares. So what I could do there is like I could just like sell off one or two of the rares, and that would cover profit plus all the rares and the super rare I've bought. So that takes away any risk of like he's half a season in and he fancies a move to Saudi Arabia, or so guys in the K League and stuff. Like there's been a lot more of that now. Alunga, guys like that who are fancying the big move for the big bucks in Qatar or Saudi Arabia, etc. But yeah, I mean, like if you see cards obviously that are value and you're picking up the rares, it's worth having a look at the super rare, because maybe buying guys for a tenner, but when you think, oh, I'm not paying £100 for a guy that's a punt, but if that comes off, then the actual profits or the utility for the guys who are on the super rare side of things is probably a lot higher, in terms of what you can make there. So yeah, I mean, I chose not to sell any of the tobacco casuals Feely ones, because just decided like they were selling for £75 and I'd got a few for £5 or £6, and I just thought I think he's worth more than that, so I just decided not to sell them. So that might seem a bit risky. Like we announced tomorrow that he's not signed for Ulsan, but I think he's a decent player and he's a decent age, so it's a wee bit of patience there,
I know, I'm with you, man, and I think if the Ulsan transfer comes off, similar to Ross and Zena Ryan, I think you're then getting 8 months of a top tier midfielder, who should in that league, you probably like him scores wise to like the Cecinas and the Pavloviches and whatever. And if you've got how many versions of that card have you got? You're going to be rocking about global.
I think I'm really me and Ross are controlling the market on him. This is very good.
Well, I've just got I was the same as you two. I seen the quads be like going cheap because he was out of favour and all the rest of it, and even the Frankie Amaya you've got, I think I seen that float about cheap for a while, and I was just I didn't have the patience for those buys at those points in time, and sometimes I do have patience for certain things and sometimes I don't, and you guys will be the same in different ways. Something you'll happily sit on, and other things you'd rather not.
You'll like this, Quinny. Just to interlude, we talk about strategy. We talk about how do you buy, how do you value, stuff like that. I was literally just doing a little strategy that I do every so often when I've got a cash balance, and I literally sit on newly listed and I keep refreshing it every 30 seconds. And he just popped up one lunchtime at 0.1, and it was someone who just happened to be on my favourite, so I knew about him already.
Yeah.
And I knew that he was sort of, well, I thought he was still at the Earthquake, so it was a total potluck thing that at the end becomes he's a free agent. So then you're like, oh, well, we're sort of rolling dice here, seeing what he's all about. And it just so happens that the move that he's got, or the move that is proposed, is a really sort of top case scenario for him. If he can stay fit, obviously, then you're looking at, like you say, the really top end player for that league. And sometimes that's just, like I said, sometimes you've got to take the opportunity rather than look at it too logically. Sometimes it was literally like he'd been up 3 minutes and I picked him up. And I thought, how have I managed to get away with that? Just by looking at him, and I went, oh, right, he's a free agent. And then I've ended up getting lucky. But when you do your research and you've got a base knowledge of players, which isn't too hard to do when there's only 126 licensed clubs, like once you've been around it for a few months, you sort of just someone from somewhere.
Yeah.
If you've done enough research about it, so he was someone that he flagged up that I knew anyway. So as soon as I seen that at the price, and this is why having a cash balance is great. That's for another video, and I think anybody from FI knows this, but it's all about sometimes opportunity, and that's exactly what he presented there.
Big time. This isn't a bit of super rare, right? I had this